Hello, IGCSE students, and welcome to this Spotwork Learning Explainer. Today, we are diving deep into one of the most incredible topics in all of biology, human reproduction. We're going to follow the amazing journey of how a new life begins, and I'll break down every essential detail you need to know to absolutely nail your exams.
So, here's our game plan. We'll kick things off with the basic anatomy, the male and female reproductive systems. Then we'll zoom right in on the star players, the sperm and the egg. After that, we'll see how they come together in fertilization and how that leads to pregnancy and the placenta. We'll also unpack the hormonal playbook that runs the whole show, a menstrual cycle, and we'll finish up with the really important topic of STIs. Let's get right into it.
Okay, first things first. Every great story needs a setting, right? So to understand reproduction, we've got to get familiar with the anatomy, the key structures in both the male and female systems where this entire process is going to happen.
Right, these two diagrams are ones you absolutely must know for your exams. Let's look at the female system on the left. Can you spot the ovaries? That's where the eggs are produced and stored. From there, an egg travels down the oviducts to the uterus, that muscular organ in the middle. Now look over to the male system on the right. See the testes? That's the sperm factory. And from there, they travel up through the sperm duct. Seriously, being able to label these parts is a classic exam question, so feel free to pause and get familiar.
This table here breaks down what each part actually does. Now, for your exams, the most critical thing to lock in is this. Ovaries make eggs, testes make sperm. Simple as that. Everything else you see is basically for transport and support. For example, check out the oviduct's function. It's the site of fertilization. That's where the magic happens, where the sperm's long journey ends and a new journey begins.
All right, now that we know the lay of the land, let's meet our two main characters, the sperm and the egg. And listen, these are not your average cells. They're highly specialized reproductive cells we call gametes. And what makes them so special? Well, each one carries exactly half of the genetic blueprint needed to create a brand new person.
And here they are. The difference in their design is just, wow, it's night and day, isn't it? Take a look at the sperm cell on the left. It's basically a tiny head with a long tail. It's built for one thing and one thing only, speed and travel. Now compare that to the egg cell on the right. It's massive, one of the biggest cells in the body, and it's perfectly round. It's not going anywhere. Its job is to wait and provide all the resources. So the key insight for your exam is that their structure is perfectly adapted to their function. The sperm's tail, the flagellum, whips around to power it forward, and that movement is fueled by a whole bunch of mitochondria packed in its midsection. And up front, in its head, it has something called an acrosome. Think of it like a tiny chemical drill, filled with enzymes ready to break into the egg. The egg, on the other hand, is loaded with nutrient-rich cytoplasm to feed the embryo in its first few days. And its jelly coat, it does something amazing. The second one sperm gets in, it instantly hardens, blocking all the others. Pretty smart, huh?
So, we've got our setting, we've got our characters, it's time for the action to begin. This next part covers two absolutely crucial events, the moment of fertilization and the equally important step of implantation.
This definition right here is pure exam gold. Pay close attention to the words. Fertilization is the fusion of the nuclei. It's not just about the cells touching. Their genetic material, their DNA, has to actually merge into one. This creates the very first cell of a new organism, and we call that cell a zygote. This slide gives you a sense of the incredible journey the sperm have to take. I mean, think about it. After being deposited in the vagina, they have to navigate through the cervix, swim across the huge open space of the uterus, and then pick the correct oviduct to enter. It is a grueling marathon, and only a tiny fraction of the millions that start will ever reach the finish line.
And this is that final critical moment. Remember that acrosome we talked about? Here you see it in action. It releases those enzymes that digest a path right through the egg's protective jelly coat. The instant one sperm gets through and its membrane fuses with the eggs, a chemical reaction happens that makes that coat impenetrable. It's a vital security system to make sure the zygote gets exactly the right amount of genetic material, one set of chromosomes from each parent, and no more.
But fertilization is just the beginning of the story. The brand new zygote starts dividing almost immediately. One cell becomes two, two become four, four become eight, and so on. As this little ball of cells, which we now call an embryo, travels down the oviduct, it's getting ready for its next big challenge. As you can see here, it has to attach itself to and then burrow into the thick, spongy lining of the uterus. This crucial step is called implantation.
Okay, so once it's successfully implanted, the embryo keeps growing and developing, and eventually we call it a fetus. For the next 9 months or so, its entire survival depends on a truly remarkable life support system that grows right alongside it, the placenta.
This amazing diagram shows you exactly what that environment looks like. The fetus is floating inside the amniotic sac, cushioned by amniotic fluid. You can think of this as a natural shock absorber, protecting the little one from any bumps. The umbilical cord is the lifeline, connecting the fetus to the placenta. And that placenta is the all-important interface between the mother and the baby.
Now, this is a classic exam topic, so let's get this crystal clear. The placenta is a master of exchange. As the slide shows, all the good stuff, like oxygen, nutrients like glucose and amino acids, passes from the mother's blood to the fetus's blood. And in the other direction, all the waste products, like carbon dioxide and urea, pass from the fetus back to the mother so she can get rid of them. But here's the crucial detail that students often miss. The mother's blood and the fetus's blood never actually mix. They just flow very, very close to each other, allowing these substances to move across a thin barrier by diffusion.
So, how does the female body even get ready for a potential pregnancy every single month? What's coordinating all of this perfect timing? Well, for that, we need to look at the hormonal control system, the invisible conductor that's leading this whole orchestra, also known as the menstrual cycle.
Okay, I know this graph can look a little intimidating at first glance, but let's break it down together. It shows how the levels of 4 key hormones rise and fall over a roughly 28-day cycle. The top part shows the hormones, and the pictures below show what's happening in the ovary and in the uterus lining because of those hormones. Our job is to connect the peaks and valleys on the graph to the actual physical events.
This table really simplifies things. Think of it like a hormonal relay race. First, the pituitary gland in the brain releases FSH, which tells an egg to start maturing in the ovary. As that egg follicle matures, it releases estrogen, which tells the uterus lining to get thick and ready. Then, that high level of estrogen triggers a big surge of LH from the pituitary, and that's the signal for ovulation. The egg is released. Finally, what's left behind in the ovary produces progesterone, which keeps that uterine lining thick and stable, just in case a fertilized egg arrives. It's all about this precise sequence of cause and effect.
If there is one interaction you absolutely must remember from this, it is this one. That massive surge in LH is the direct trigger for ovulation. If you look back at that graph, you can't miss it. It's this huge spike right around day 14. That's the green light for the ovary to release the mature egg. For your exams, being able to link a hormone peak to a specific event is a guaranteed way to score big marks.
And finally, we need to cover the very important topic of sexually transmitted infections, or STIs. Understanding how these infections are passed on and how we can prevent them is a key part of your IGCSE syllabus. And we're going to use HIV as our main case study.
Let's be really precise with our definitions here because it's crucial. HIV stands for Human Immunodeficiency Virus. As you can see, it's a virus, and it specifically attacks the body's immune cells. Now, over many years, if it's left untreated, HIV can damage the immune system so badly that the body can't fight off even simple infections. This late stage of the infection is called AIDS, or Acquired Immunodeficiency Syndrome. So remember, HIV is the virus, AIDS is the condition that can develop later on.
So the big question is, how can the spread of a virus like HIV be controlled? Well, your syllabus requires you to know a few key methods of prevention. These include using barrier methods like condoms during sexual contact, and also, on a public health level, screening all blood donations to make sure the virus isn't passed on through transfusions. These are really effective ways to reduce the transmission of the virus.
And that wraps up our deep dive into human reproduction. We've gone on a journey from basic anatomy all the way through to hormonal cycles and public health. I really hope this explainer helped clear things up for you. If you found it useful for your IGCSE revision, please do me a favor and hit that like button and subscribe to Spotwork Learning. We've got more guides just like this to help you ace your exams. Good luck with your studies!